life isn't as competitive as it used to be. And now it's like, wow, we're all here for each other.
Welcome to Controlled Chaos. I'm your host, Shana. And can you go ahead and kind of introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, thank you for having me. My name's Catie. I am currently living in a little town called Mullumbimby, so it's just outside of Byron Bay. And yeah, just what am I now? I'm probably a week into 14 months and a week sober. So yeah, that's been a long time coming. I'm 33 this year, and yeah, I think when I hit 30 there'd been this pull for a long time about, my behavior, and everything else was the problem apart from the drinking. And then when I really got down to it and realized that I was out of control of my habits with drinking, and started to make a lot more of a conscious effort to change my behavior, and fell into the rooms of AA a few times back and forth. And this last time, just something was different about it. And yeah, it's been honestly it has been the best time of my life getting sober. Not always easy, but definitely worth every step of the way. It's been amazing. But yeah, I'm so stoked to be here chatting with you.
So I'm so excited that you're here. And honestly, I have to be honest with you. I think of you as this carefree girl that's dancing in the rain on some island or something. This is what your Instagram is full of, right? So carefree and sweet and just go with the flow. And I can't you have a shine about you. So I can't picture it. I can't picture you being, struggling like that and going that hard. So it just goes to show how much work you've done to get better, because you shine a light, in your video,
Oh.
in your speak, and just so positive. So I love that about you, first of all. But second of all, can you tell us what the struggle was like for you? Where did it start? What happened?
So definitely, I guess after, being on this healing journey and really taking a closer look at all my behavior, it really stemmed from just little things that happen, when you're younger, and, maybe not always being in the right environments, but looking for something to kind of fill that little gap, which I've come to find was just a really a heart-shaped hole in my soul, really. And I just started to, high school was a difficult time trying to fit in with everyone, and you never really know who you are, so you just kind of fall into what kind of feels good or what's exciting or a new experience. And that kind of led me into a path of the cool stuff to do, and wagging school, drinking, smoking, taking drugs, and all of the things that you get to do as an adult. And constantly looking into the future is everything's going to be so much better in the future. But getting trapped into that, reliancy on things just kind of took away from who I was as well. It really, the days would just get kind of darker, so the lightness would come at the end of the bottle and whatnot. And yeah, just got into some really bad habits. I'm a chef, so working in hospitality as well, it was always this lifestyle of you work really hard, and then you all go out drinking, and you're out partying until 3 a.m, and you've got to be back at work at 8, but everyone's in the same boat. So kind of, you have a little beer before you start shift and everything's fine again. And yeah, just stuck into that cycle. And then through years of doing that, it just kind of became an everyday habit. So towards
Right.
the end, I was without a doubt like an everyday drinker. I would take a couple steps to be in the kitchen, and before I'd even brush my teeth, taken 5 breaths, I've had alcohol in my system to just try to get me back to feeling that normal. And yeah, it started off, fun, happy, partying with everyone. And then throughout the later years, it was just me drinking by myself, because I knew how chaotic I would get, and the anxiety and the shame of waking up those mornings of what did I do? Who did I abuse? What friend did I treat badly? So
Yeah.
I just removed myself from those situations, but I would still be at home drinking every night till the point of just passing out, and but waking up knowing that I hadn't embarrassed myself publicly, but I'd done a lot of internal damage. And yeah, it got incredibly dark, especially towards those last probably 5 or so years of just nonstop drinking. I think I'd always been the type of person who could engage with people really well. And then if I wasn't feeling very happy or positive, I could have a few drinks and I'd be back to being happy and positive. But because I didn't know when to stop, that would, you know, after an hour or two, I'd start to decline and I'd keep drinking, thinking I'm going to get that high back up again, but it would just get darker and darker. And I think I made a video recently of, you know, I do come across as this incredibly positive and carefree, happy-go-lucky kind of person. And it's because I have been in such a hell of my own making for so many years that I just try as hard as I can now to not bring that into anyone else's life, to not be the reason that anyone else is upset or angry. And it really comes down to having worked my steps. So going through AA, I got way more than I bargained for when I walked into those rooms. I just wanted to stop
Right.
drinking. That was basically it. And for 6 months, I was able to do that. I didn't drink, you know, I was rocking up to meetings. It was great, but I wasn't really contributing. I felt like at 6 months, I got to a point that I was like, I'm not drinking, but I still feel, you know, angry all the time. And I've got all these resentments, and my parents did this and my friends did this. And when I had to do the step 4, especially, was when I really had to look at what contribution I had made to everything that had happened in my life. And that was a huge eye opener for me and a huge release, you know, after I did 6 and 7, to just be able to feel like I don't have to hold on to all of that pain anymore. I can release it and then start to move forward as this new person who I've become. So yeah, it's, you know, I've battled with a lot of depression. I've battled with a lot of numbing anxiety that I have been at points that I lost half of my hair. I wouldn't leave my house. I couldn't do anything. People were so worried about me, but I didn't even want a bar of their worry. I just wanted to isolate myself. And without having gone through all of those dark times, I wouldn't be able to see how amazing life can be and how getting a control over your mind and your thoughts can impact your day. And, you know, I don't wake up every day, even now, and be like, yay, I'm happy, everything's great. I wake up and, you know, I do 100 jumps, I shake out the energy in my body. I make sure that I get straight out into nature, and I pray, I keep quiet for a little while, and I just say thank you so much for bringing me here. Make the blessings so obviously put in my path that I cannot ignore them today. And just having that morning gratefulness has just the ability to fully change the day around, like no matter how you wake up. So it's a
Right.
conscious effort daily to try and show up for yourself and for everyone else around you. So it's still doesn't come easy, but it's definitely worth it to put all that work in for sure. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I have so much to say to that. I don't even know where to start. So,
I can ramble and ramble, sorry.
oh, that's okay. I'm just like, oh my goodness, I have so many questions now. So, my first question is you talked about having to drink when you first woke up. And a lot of people who have been on here, or some people who have been on here, haven't really experienced withdrawal symptoms or things like that. They hadn't gotten to that point. There's only been, a few of us. But it sounds like you were having actual withdrawal symptoms, right? Like you were shaking, you were not okay, able to like function clearly when you weren't drinking.
Yeah. Well, I realized that I got to a point that I made myself allergic to alcohol. So it says in the big book, about us having an illness and an allergy. And some people find that really hard to wrap their heads around. But for me, I got to a point that I'd have red dots around my wrists, under my eyes.
Always,
It was
always.
horrible
I actually
towards, yeah.
because I had really bad anxiety and depression. And then when I would drink, it would like triple, obviously. And when I started getting hives everywhere, I started thinking all the time, like, my throat's going to close and I'm going to die. And like all this like doomsday stuff, right? And not thinking about dying from withdrawal, right? Which I had seizures from that and all types of things at points. But actually, like, I would look at my wrist and I'm like, how am I breaking out from alcohol? I've drank alcohol my whole life. And so when they talk about the allergy in the big book, it's funny because in treatment, they always explained it to me as like the actual definition of an allergy is just an abnormal reaction, right? So some people may eat a strawberry and they break out or whatever, but we drink alcohol and we have to continue drinking it. So that was like the abnormal reaction. But you're so right when you say that towards the end, and I don't know if that happens for everybody. I had never heard anybody talk about that. But towards the end, I would have hives a lot of the times. I would feel like really short of breath, which that was part of like my anxiety also. So I don't know if that was related, but I thought it was. I was like, oh, like my throat's gonna close and I can't breathe and all this stuff, right? But it was
Mm.
almost like when you're allergic to like cats or dogs or something like that. And I've never heard anybody else mention that. So that's
Yeah. Well, when I think about it now, it used to be a bit of a joke amongst my friends how many times I'd sneeze. So even in the early days, I was probably still a teenager when my friends would be like, "Oh, she did 17 sneezes." And it's because I would be drinking. And to me, I still didn't put two and two together that it's like I am allergic to alcohol. It wasn't just this stuff that I needed to make me feel positive and great. It was an actual poison, and it still is a poison, regardless of how well your body responds to alcohol. It is still a poison that you're putting into your body. And I can't believe all the signs that I ignored that alcohol did not serve me. I still could not put it down. And that's where I struggle a lot with even some people that I find on Instagram who don't drink, and they send out this message that alcoholism isn't a disease and alcoholism isn't this and that. I'm like, look, I completely see where you're coming from there, but a lot of people do have a disease with it. A lot of people do have severe reactions to it. And I think it can be sometimes dangerous to say that, oh, it's not this. It's almost telling someone that, oh, you're not really an alcoholic. And it's like, that can be a bit dangerous, you know?
Yeah, and it's hard, right? Because you get in these communities and you love all of these women and you respect their, I guess, position on things or how they feel or what their experience is. And I finally did start saying it to people, and a lot of them actually heard me because now in their posts, they will write, except for if you've been drinking every day, please check with your doctor. Because I finally started saying, I don't mean to be rude, but you don't have to call yourself an alcoholic. You don't have to do anything. Listen, my dad used to say, I ain't got to do nothing but stay black and die. And I swear to God, that's in my head my whole entire life. Anything that I do, it's because I want to. And I feel the same about other people. Like, you cannot force anybody to do anything. And that's not the nicest,
Exactly.
but that's my daddy's words. I don't have to do nothing but stay black and die, right? So always, of course, you don't have to call yourself an alcoholic, but you should know if you are dependent on alcohol before you just stop, first of all, or before you just take this advice from people who aren't, maybe trained or maybe haven't had that experience, right? They were binge
Mm.
drinking every other weekend, or, they would black out once or twice a month. And that's not a good experience. And alcohol is not good for you. And you're right. A lot of people should slow down and stop on alcohol. But just because you don't have alcoholism or you don't want to call yourself an alcoholic doesn't mean that it's not a disease and that people out there really aren't struggling. And it's hard enough to think or to admit when you do have alcoholism. And listen, I'm not going to fight over words. I don't care what you call it. But what I would like you to know is like, if you're planning on stopping and you're dependent on alcohol, you need a doctor's assistance. And it's not just oh, just quit drinking, just put it down, dump it all out. Because, I've had friends and, working in treatment, people that I knew that passed away and didn't exactly know that you could die from withdrawal, right? Or didn't even think it
Yeah.
was of a deal, just thinking, oh, I kind of drink a lot and I'm going to slow down. And you have seizures, you get sick. So my thing is you can call it whatever you want to call it. But when you're talking to somebody who's been drinking every day, you really have to be careful on the advice you're giving. And I try to say, I've worked in treatment for a long time, and I always try to tell everybody, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. Like, this is my experience. This is what I've gone through, but you're always going to want to like check with your doctor. You're going to want to, check with your therapist. I'm not a therapist. I've been through a
Yeah.
lot, but listen, my experience is what I give people just to show them that, like, hey, there's hope and it can get better, but I can't like make decisions for you, and I can't tell you how to quit, or I can't tell you, just slow down and you can moderate. And if they're an alcoholic, they're
What's
not going
moderate?
to moderate. I was telling somebody the other day, everybody keeps talking about moderation, and I shit you not, I have never in my life thought, I'm going to go out and just have one beer. What I thought is I want to get drunk and I hope I don't feel too bad in the morning. I hope I don't have the shakes. I hope nobody will notice if I drink before I go to work. Those are the things
Mhm.
that I thought. So for me, I didn't have a whole lot of question of if I was an alcoholic. And when I started getting on Instagram and everybody was like, you don't have to call yourself an alcoholic. You don't have to do this. This is downgrading you and this is that. And I'm like, well, I don't feel downgraded. I feel like I'm empowering myself. Okay, but yes. So as far as that, it's just kind of like it even had me going back and questioning for a second. And it's like, what does that do to somebody who's newly sober or newly trying to get sober? Because I started being like, well, maybe I shouldn't be calling myself an alcoholic, or, you know, powerless. I'm not a powerless girl. I'm very strong
Mm.
and all this stuff. And finally, I'm like, okay, some of these people have not done this program and they don't understand what they mean when they say powerless. They're not meaning you're weak or anything like that. They're saying you've tried to quit numerous times on your own and it hasn't worked, which is true, right? It's just a fact.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I had a real struggle with that myself. And I think that there is such a spectrum of people, and it's okay to tell your story and it's okay for me to tell mine, but we have to make sure that we're like very careful for the people who really are struggling, that we're not just telling them like, hey, you're not an alcoholic, you're fine.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think that sometimes, like, especially like some of the wording in the big book and whatnot, a lot of people have a hard time with that because what I've found in the rooms of AA is so many of us are control freaks, we're drinking because we want to control how we feel. And the funny thing is we're actually then getting out of control. But so much of the wording in there, it's like, yes, we're powerless, we've got a disease, we have to let go of everything and have God remove all of this stuff. And it's a lot of releasing and putting our faith in something that we can't tangibly see. So
Right.
it takes a while sometimes to actually let those words seep in and be like, it's okay. It's okay to not fully understand. But I tell you what, walking into the rooms of AA and hearing other people share, that's where I first felt I'm understood. That's where I first felt that, wow, these people actually do understand when I say that I feel this, I can't do this, I have done this. They actually get me. I was talking to my parents, talking to my friends, and no one understood me. No one had the same disease as what I did. So I constantly felt so alone. And that's when I started to really isolate myself from other people because no one around me understood how I was feeling. And it was the people in AA and working through that program that really made me feel like there isn't something, well, yeah, there's something wrong with me, but it can be solved, and this program is one of those things that I wish was just available. It is available for everyone, but I wish everyone would do it, because it's not just a program about stopping a substance. It's about changing your thought process and your patterns and your reactions and your behavior. And I'm like, everyone needs to do this. Everyone should do the 12 steps just to get a better understanding of themselves, figure out where you're holding on to things that can just be released so you can move forward in another direction. It's just, that would be
Yeah,
nice. Hey.
I agree with that. I think, I was in AA for a long time and I wasn't able to stay sober. I kept relapsing and I finally got on medication, and that was like the final straw for me getting sober. But what's funny is I've always loved the 12 steps and I will always continue to do them because it was what taught me forgiveness and letting go and
Yeah.
compassion for other people, right? The notion that people don't just wake up in the morning like, how can I hurt Shana today? They're probably trying to
Mm,
survive just like I was trying to survive, and people get stepped on, in during that. And it might not be that they did it on purpose, right? They're just trying to live and they're just doing whatever they can. Not people don't normally people aren't just out to get you on purpose, right? Like things happen.
yeah,
How many times have I hurt somebody and not even known it, or maybe not cared at the time, or whatever it is, right? So like learning
totally.
passion for people, and also learning how to apologize but not apologize, actually change your behavior, right? Because
Well,
I
that's the
was,
best apology.
yeah, like I was a huge I'm sorry, and then I'm going to do it tomorrow. And like with amends, it was like, no, like you really have to change what you're doing. So I think the 12 steps, and I think most of us, and what a lot of people don't realize is like when you're using all the time like that, you kind of like stop growing, right? So the 12 steps really taught me how to be like a good person, how to be the person I
Yeah,
want to be, you know? Did you feel that?
absolutely. Yeah, it really gave me a completely different perspective, because quite like yourself, I would wake up and just think that, oh, that person cut me off because they were out to get me. And it was the whole world against Catie. I just thought everyone hated me because I internally didn't like myself. I wasn't, I probably was fueled with a lot of ego. So I thought that I was a good person. I thought I was doing all this, but really, I was only ever acting out in ways to get what I wanted. And if I didn't get what I wanted, then it wasn't a good interaction and that person sucks and whatnot. And it's like, no, every single person is out there doing the best that they can, mostly. And it's not everyone against me. And I think, especially with this most recent trial that I had, I thought, why am I good enough for this person? Why can't they see I'm just trying to help? Why this and that? And I just had to take a step back and be like, this person is trying to do the best thing for them, and it's not up to me to try and change what I think the best thing for them is. And that's what the program has taught me, that it's not up to me to fix everybody, but it's also not up to me to make decisions for other people. You just have to move forward with compassion and love for every person that's in your life, however they show up, because they're going through struggles, and they've got deadlines and bills to pay and other people who are interfering with their life. And if you just go out with the mindset that everyone's just trying to do the best they can, it just kind of takes that pressure off thinking that everyone's against you and whatnot.
Right? Yeah, it definitely does, I think, change things. And I'm with you. I feel like everybody should try the 12 steps at one time.
Yeah, do it.
Try it, try it, try it. Even listen, even the old guys who, when I first started going to AA, they would drive me absolutely crazy. Like I love them all too. Like it just like, I don't know, there's something about somebody who has that much wisdom, and sometimes they're crabby and old and whatever, but they have so much wisdom, right? And have been through so much more than us. And they have such a good place there, right? Like
Mm.
I used to go there and I'm like, oh, these freaking old guys. weird old guys, and now I like love all of them too, right?
Well, we've changed our mindset as well. Like when you first come in, you kind of think all these people look happy and put together. Like you can't possibly know what I'm going through and you don't understand. And the less that you're resistant to it, and they've planted the little seeds and you keep coming back. So you keep sitting down and you're listening, that you just kind of, you let a little bit more each time seep in. And it's like, wow, yeah, I'm actually more open to hearing people's experiences and learning from them the longer I'm in the program. And then the more seeds that get planted in me, the more little pockets of information that I allow myself to hear, because it is those old timers that have been in there for 30 plus years that I'm like, oh my gosh, like now I realize, wow, yeah, like I can learn so much from you. Whereas before I kind of thought I've got the answers. I just need to stop drinking. I don't need anything else. But I am so grateful for all of those old timers that keep coming back. I was surprised when people are 30 plus years sober that they're still in the rooms. I'm like, what are you doing here? Like you've stopped drinking, like surely that's it. But no, it's a spiritual based program and people keep coming back to share wisdom, but also you never know if it's going to be the person who's freshly gotten sober, person who's been there a year, the person who's been there 30 years. You don't know where that light bulb moment is going to come from. You know, you get wisdom from everybody in the meetings.
You do. The first time that I heard it was the doctor's opinion. It's like XXVIII or something.
Oh my
And
gosh, just read that. Yeah.
yeah, and it's like men and women drink essentially because they like the effects of alcohol. And even though it's injurious, they can't differentiate the true from the false. And that was the first time. And even though it was super weird old people language, it was the first time I was like, no, they get it. Like I keep doing this, even though I hate how it feels, even though I hate what it makes me do. And I continue to do it like I don't remember, right? It's like the craziest. If I was watching someone do it, I would think they were crazy. You know, there's that story about like the person falling in the hole and like somebody getting them out and then they walk through it again or however it goes. And it's like, that's what it reminds me of. Like, you know better and you're not having fun and you continue to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's also, it's such a practice in being in the present moment, because I'm such a firm believer you're always where you're meant to be. But it's when you're in the present moment, you know, you have to look at it like, yes, I'm meant to be doing this right now, but do I like what I'm doing? Do I like the repercussions of my actions? And these days, it's a lot more like, yes, I do. I love that I'm showing up for myself and I love this. But in those early days, it was, I hated being present because I didn't like the the choices that I was making. And to switch my brain and to switch up my habits and to enforce that discipline every day, just showing up for myself, even when I didn't want to, it
Mhm.
still took quite a while to start receiving all the benefits, because you've got to retrain your brain. We've been, you know, poisoning ourselves for so long, holding on to this horrible life because we can predict what's going to happen, as opposed to choosing a different direction, which is scary because we can't predict what's going to happen. We just have to have faith it's going to work out. That's a really scary position to be in. You don't know what's going to happen. And there's a chronic relapser in one of the meetings that I go to, and he's like, I don't understand why I can't stop. And it just so happened the day he said that, I ended up reading this chapter in a book. And I went back to him the next time and I was like, because you can predict it. You keep doing this behavior because you know how it's going to work out. And that makes your body a little bit more at ease, knowing how something is going to work out, as opposed to not knowing, you
It's the
know?
motto, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I don't know. I can always just say, just keep going, keep going. It gets better. Not always easier, but it definitely gets better. You know, I've had so many more trials in sobriety than I did when I was drinking, because I'm open to more experience now. I'm not shying away from the fear. Yeah. Oh my
Like
gosh.
it makes it more, things are out there, they happen, right? When you're drunk at your house, you don't run into a lot of problems besides yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And, for a while, I guess I needed that. I needed to sit with how horrible I was to myself to realize that I deserve better. And I think I had to fake it for so long, telling myself that I deserved better because I didn't think that I did. I wasn't living a life that needed, that was leading me in a good way. And I think also you mentioned about forgiving, so many people and whatnot. And I needed to take a long time to forgive myself and to really grieve the person who I used to be and have so much compassion for that person because I quite literally hated myself. I really did. I didn't understand why anyone liked me. People always still gravitated towards me and they wanted to be around me. And I couldn't understand why, because I would be hanging out with someone and just constantly thinking negative things in my head about them, about myself, just waiting for this interaction to be over so I could go home and drink. My thought was just constantly so negative. I didn't understand why anyone wanted to be around me. So I needed to sit with myself and just tell myself every day, stand in front of the mirror and say, I love you. I'm so grateful that you're here. I'm sorry for everything that we've been through, but we're going to do better now. And, just those positive affirmations, they start to rub off after a while. And then all of a sudden you're thinking positive things and you're actually being a more positive influence in other people's lives. And that's one of the best things I could ever ask for, is to be able to help anyone else by purely sharing what's happened to me. But you've got to do those dorky things. You've got to do all of the stuff that people rave and rave on about, but that's where it is.
So what is next for Catie? What's next?
Oh, I have no idea. And it's mentioned this before, and I've truly never really known what I'm going to do with my life, but I've always wanted to help people and I never knew how I could help people. So by starting this page, it was more about keeping myself accountable and just making sure that, I'd isolated a lot. So I just wanted to start connecting with people. And I only ever followed motivational people or people on the same journey as me so that I could be inspired by everything that I was seeing. And I think now I've received quite a lot of messages of people just saying, wow, from seeing your experience and seeing a few of your videos, it's really helped me have a look at my own behavior. And, I've been chatting with a few people now who have been able to stop drinking or other substances that I don't like that they were like, it's because of you. I'm like, no, 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 it's because of you. You did this. But the thought
Inspiration
that
from
comes, yeah, exactly. So if I can just help a couple of people by sharing what has happened to me, then that's all that I can ask for. I can't tell you things that I haven't experienced, but I just finished reading Conversations with God, and it says that you can't experience anything that you can't have anything that you haven't experienced already, something like that. So if I want to experience full love, I've got to experience everything that I don't want in order to get what I do want, so that I know that the stuff out there, I know what I do want. It sounds very loopy, but
I mean, it makes sense though. It's almost like without the rain, you wouldn't, recognize or be grateful for the sunshine. And that's very true. We get used to things being good all the time, and then we take it for granted. We get used to
yeah.
having my water heater went out the other day and I'm waiting for it to get fixed. And not having hot water has not been super fun. So I will now remember to be grateful for it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Stuff
We
like
can't know what, yeah, we it's I think if I can inspire anyone, or if I can just send out a bit of a positive message to people who, one, are either struggling and have gone through some sort of dependency on alcohol or drugs, that they can see me living a life that doesn't involve drugs and alcohol, but still being a very wonderful life, then they
Right.
might be able to be like, wow, okay, maybe I could do that. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's like I'm not thinking I'm gonna miraculously, change anybody, or I'm not setting out to think or let people think that it's all happy days and whatnot. But if especially people growing up now, I think there's a lot more awareness on the damages of alcohol. But if I can just continue to live a really positive, wholesome, healthy life that doesn't involve drugs and alcohol, that's hopefully going to inspire someone along the way that they might be able to do that too. I don't know. It would be nice if that could happen.
I love that. And I think you're going to go on to inspire and help so many people. I just opened up a Facebook group of women and it's called Sisterhood of Sober Success. And I did not realize how many people would like join and speak and ask for help and support other women, right? Like I was so just like in awe of how much people are craving to have change in their life. And I think you have such a good spirit that you will do amazing things when you are ready. And hopefully that's soon.
Well, look, I just one day at a time, and all I can do is just share what's happened to me. Maybe someone might be able to see one of my videos and be like, oh, fuck yeah, I'm going to have a great day now, or I'm going to pop down this substance, or I'm going to take a bit of a break from drinking, or anything like that. And then they start to see their own positivity coming through them from dropping a substance or whatever. And yeah, I think it's so ingrained in our society, drinking, you're meant to go out and be crazy when you're younger, and you're meant to drink when you celebrate and drink when you're not happy. And
Right.
it's like, we don't have to do that. You don't have to do that at all. It's just as hard sitting with those emotions as it is a hangover. But what you receive after sitting with your emotions is so much better than just getting through a hangover. So my idea is, if you're drinking, you're going to feel crappy the next day anyway. So instead of drinking those emotions away, how about you just sit with the crappiness for a little bit, actually assess how you feel, and then you can move on from it without having to then go through a hangover. So
Right.
it's, yeah. But I think kids these days seem to be a lot more aware and healthier about the choices that they're making. I think that's a really awesome thing to see.
Yeah, and I think that it's coming out more now that alcohol is just not great for you, right? And I love that.
Yeah.
Where can people, if they want to see your stuff, see your videos, all that, what's your social media stuff?
So I only just do Instagram. So I didn't have any social media for quite a few years. And it was starting this page that first got me back into social media again. And social media has always had, a bit of a bad rap, oh, this isn't real and this isn't that, blah, blah. So I thought, all I want to do is share a real experience, share exactly, authentic as much as I can, so that it's not trying to be something that it's not. And I've just found so much power in social media. The positivity that is actually out there is so inspiring. And the way I've been able to connect with people like yourself from other sides of the world, and we've all got now like new friends that
Yeah.
everywhere that have got each other's back and can really understand each other. And I think that social media is actually amazing. I think it's wonderful to be able to show the real side of life. It doesn't have to be smoke and mirrors, we just show up as we are.
Yes, and I love that. I love being able to share. Sometimes I'm like, am I too messy? And then I'm like, listen, like I want the people who are out there that feel like hopeless, like they'll never be able to get sober. I want them to see like if she did it, I definitely can. Like she was
Yeah.
crazy. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, exactly. And it's not about like manicuring like the best video and trying to get the best lighting and all this sort of stuff. It's like sometimes I would get caught up being like, oh, I don't think I look very good there, or all this. And it's like, doesn't matter. It does not matter. If you're just showing up as yourself, doesn't have to be the best video. It doesn't have to be that, because you'll attract those people, like what you're saying, that are in the same position as you. It doesn't have to be wait till the perfect lighting in order to put something up. If you feel like that's what people need to hear, just pop it up. People aren't living manicured lives. Everyone's messy. Everyone's got stuff going on.
I definitely agree. And I'm so glad that you came on today and we got to hear your story. Thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you for having me. And I love your page. I feel like I can just resonate with so much of it. And one thing that I do love is that it's not always this like perfect everything as well. It's important for us to show up in all the different ways, to show all the different aspects of recovery, and just knowing that it gets messy sometimes, but we get through it because, that's all we're trying to do is just live. And it's tricky sometimes, but with the support of each other, it's really amazing what we can do.
It is. I don't think I've ever had so many like actual real friends that care about me and I care about them and like actually want each other to succeed, you know?
Yeah.
I think that I've gained that in sobriety, right? Before,
Yeah.
me and all my friends were just struggling, like trying to survive. And it was like, not that they didn't care about me, right? But they didn't even care about themselves. So how would they care about someone else? You know, they just couldn't,
Yeah.
just in them. So to have people that are healthy and well and want me to be the same is like a blessing.
Definitely. Yeah. It's like life isn't as competitive as it used to be. And now it's like, wow, we're all here for each other. And I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I really gravitate towards people, not just, but really people who are in the AA program as well, because I know that, whoa, like I absolutely love addicts and alcoholics because I think these are people who woke up and decided, I'm going to do better today. I'm sick of living that life. And people who chose themselves, I want you to choose yourself. I want you to back yourself so much, because when you let that love pour into yourself, that's when it starts to pour out as well.
I love that. That's actually
Mm.
that's a good thing to end on. Pour love into
Mm.
yourself, it pours into other people, just like when they tell you to put the mask on in the airplane if it's going down, right? Can't save
I
anybody,
always think of that.
can't save
Yeah,
anybody not alive, right? It's the same thing. You got to
100.
care for yourself. So I appreciate so much that you came on and I love you mucho.
Yes, you too. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm sure we will speak soon.
Yes.